Welcome back to the Die Again podcast, a tabletop role-playing game podcast run by two people, one of which has hair. I'm your game master and hair haver, Josiah.
And I'm William, the hair not haver.
And last we left off, Winston Davitsen was going to visit his father in the retirement home. His father, Calvin Davison, Vietnam veteran, and generally distant father, just pulled up, and I assume you're just gonna walk on in.
So I think we alluded to last time that he's a regular. Like, people, only new hires are like, who are you? Everybody else is like, oh yeah, you're here to see your dad, Calvin.
Yeah, I assume this retirement home is still in town. It's not one of those ones that's way out there.
Yeah, it's definitely accessible, like even if you were to go by bus or something. So yeah, he goes ahead and goes through the front door, and he knows that there's typically a receptionist and a sign-in sheet area that he goes straight to.
So you go there, do your sign in, the receptionist is there, and as disinterested as always.
So she tends to play Snake whenever she's super bored. So that's what she's doing right now.
She's playing Snake on her phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's got a high-tech phone like that.
Yeah, new age tech.
So you sign in, you head out. I'd say your father's probably out on like the patio. He can't get around like he used to, but he still likes being outdoors.
I imagine that he's not at the walker stage. He's just more like holding on to just using a cane as a somewhat of a support.
For sure.
Yeah, it's from the injury he got from Vietnam, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's an injury that could have been treated at any time, and he just refused to go to a doctor. And he still smoked. They have not been able to make him give up smoking at this retirement home.
Yeah, part of his injury is that he still has a bullet in there that they just never removed, so...
At some point, he's going to lose that leg or die of old age. And I imagine he's running a betting pool to see which it is.
Okay, so Winston goes up to the patio that his father often likes to hang out at. What's that like?
It's just like a simple wood patio. You know, there's chess tables out there. There's that kind of stuff. Your father is just sort of sitting in it's not exactly a lawn chair, but it's that sort of layout, but it's wooden with cushions.
Does he like to play chess?
He does not. The only things he liked doing were mostly physical things. He liked fixing the car. He liked going out and shooting. He liked chopping wood, all of those things. He is bored shitless out here. The only thing he's picked up is Tom Clancy novels. He does not like your books, but I imagine that you run fight scenes past him.
Okay.
You've slowly been improving in his estimation. Not enough for him to buy any of your books.
Enough for him to talk about it with the other residents?
You can't be sure.
Okay, so I go up to him and say, hey, Dad.
He just grunts and puffs his cigarette.
Okay. Oh, yeah, so would have been a time period more than likely where that still would have been allowed on premise, maybe. Even if it wasn't, he doesn't care.
I was going to say, I think he's still intimidating enough that these orderlies aren't going to try and take that from him.
They know not to fuck with the vet.
And he is at least smoking outside, so.
Right.
I feel like that's a small concession you got out of him.
Okay. I say, how you been doing?
I finished the last Tom Clancy book. You gotta buy me more.
Oh, I'm buying him the books.
Yeah, well, he can't go out and buy them. No Amazon.
So I'm in charge of any extra entertainment he gets to have, and it's books.
Yeah, I feel like he's someone who never got into watching TV.
Yeah, because he's like, what? At least...
He's probably twice your age.
80?
Yeah, he's old. Like, he wasn't conscripted into Vietnam. He served by choice.
Okay. One, I'm kind of curious, how many are there out there at around this time period?
Oh, a ton, because, well, not to get on a Tom Clancy divergence, but I mean, just the Rainbow Six series alone is pretty long. He's one of the most, not the most necessarily, but a very prolific writer, and he worked with a lot of other writers.
Okay, so then I tell him, absolutely, I got a list with me, so we can mark off the ones you just finished up, and we'll see which ones are the next in the ongoing saga of Tom Clancy.
Yeah, you have like a spreadsheet. Yeah, so he goes and marks the books he wants you to get next. He's not an exceptionally fast reader, and he tends to reread his books just to make sure he gets everything.
Yeah.
But he's very detail-oriented, which is why you come to him at times like these.
Okay. After we finish looking at the list and deciding if I'm going to go to, I don't know if this is even a thing, but the local Hastings. Let's just pretend there's a Hastings in Ohio.
I imagine there has to be one
I
just
don't know.
because this is a dying town and it fits.
So, for the listeners, in case you hear Hastings and you're like, what in the world is that? It's basically a thing that used to be where we live at. That was a place where you can buy videos, rent videos,
Video games, comics, books.
everything.
Later on, they added in a little mini Hot Topic section,
Yeah,
basically, just before they died.
just before they died.
Just before they went the way of Blockbuster.
So we're just going to say that that exists. And that's where he likes to go to find these books because they just have a really good selection.
Exactly. Got those marked down. Then I assume you're gonna. Is Winston, does he like to sit near his dad or does he stand like with his arms behind his back? His dad probably likes him to do that, but also does Winston care what his dad likes?
In Winston's youth, he cared what his dad likes. But out of respect for his dad, he likes to just, if his dad's sitting, he sits. He doesn't want his father to feel like he's towering over him in any way. So he likes to be an equal ground.
So you pull up probably a more normal chair because he's in like a reclining chair. And so you'll sit down and he sort of looks at you and says, I assume you need something else. Break the car again?
I did not break the car this time, Dad. I haven't gone over the mileage that you said to go to Jorge to go about fixing the oil and changing the gear ratio, something, something, something.
He just nods, not dignifying that with words. It says, well, then what do you need?
Well, Dad, I just saw some weird things. You know how I am. I like to what I see in the world is what I like to write about. And I was just following up on this story I read on the newspaper. Have you read the newspaper lately? The local newspaper?
He nods, and of course, I always keep up with that.
Are you familiar with that one story about the kids that were getting hurt randomly at the park and the parents had no idea how it happened?
He nods and says, yeah, so you've
Okay.
found there's something a little more to that?
I found something, but it's hard to explain. I went over to the park and there was this kid and his parents. They were looking seemingly normal. And then all of a sudden, I see this shimmer. Kind of like, I don't know, I might describe it as maybe a bug of some sort, kind of flying through the air and hits the kid. And the kid just starts bleeding automatically. But it's not like he reacted or anything like that. So, I'm thinking I might have seen something strange, kind of like what I like to write about in my books.
He's nodding and says, all right, so then what?
Well, I talked with the guy that broke that story because he's a acquaintance of mine, and he kind of gave me a little bit more detail, but there's no evidence as to what it is, and he seemed kind of thrown off, or not thrown off, but like shocked by what I might have seen. And I want to be able to get information on all these kids that were affected by this. And I think the best way to do that might be to go to the town hall, but I don't know how to even approach the people that work there to even ask for this kind of information. So I was hoping you could point me in what you think might be the right direction.
So he takes a drag of his cigarette and he says, is that all you found? I know you're a forgetful little bastard.
It's all I know of right now. I mean,
Out of character, should I remind you? The barista.
but I don't even know that technically he was at the park.
He wasn't. Remember that? That's what I'm reminding you of. He said he was going past the abandoned high rise and just at some point that happened and he never noticed when it happened.
Okay. So then I update my dad with that information as well. That perhaps whatever this is maybe spreading and definitely not to just kids.
So he says, "Well, now we got the whole story out of you. Here's what I'd say is you're a little too focused on attacking this from one angle and doing this by yourself. As I recall, you have some kid working with you. Why don't you send her to go ask around the playground? She probably does babysitting or something."
It's a good point. I try not to bother Tasha too much just because you know how adults are. You're one of them. Wouldn't it be weird if you had a daughter and this guy that's twice her age is hanging out with her?
Yeah, but you're weird, so you gotta live with that. We all have our crosses to bear, and mine was you. Anyways, the other thing, you should go check out this second location. Given that your friend here seems to not remember what happened, and seemingly nobody reacts when this happens, you should probably pick someone else to go with you.
You think someone younger or just anyone?
Doesn't seem to matter too much, does it? You saw whatever it was. It just seems to be whoever it happens to can't quite tell what's going on. Not too surprising. I've been out there. You get hit by something, you may not feel it at all until your buddy points it out to you.
See, Dad, this is why I come to you, because your way of thinking is different enough from mine to help me think things through.
You can say better.
All right, Dad. It's been a pleasure. Next time you see me, I'll have your books.
He nods and takes a drag. He's not going to say goodbye.
I think Winston at this point is so used to this game that him and his old pops play that he's whatever about it.
It's a silent dismissal, basically.
Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and leave.
I love getting to play asshole characters. Granted, this is someone who had to deal with you, like, probably during your most annoying formative years. So he's earned the right to be a bit of an ass.
Perhaps it's for the best that the mother's dead, because otherwise,
She'd have to deal with you.
well, I was thinking more along the lines of we'd have to explain her messed upness.
I feel like if she was still around, she'd be making you eat more. Like you would show up to the retirement home and she'd make you eat one of the meals there.
Right. Okay. I think now his goal would be he might want to go to probably to talk with his friend, Detective Maria, and ask her if there's anything going on with the high rise location, if there's been more people that have gotten hurt.
So you'd have a number for her, so you can page her or call her and set up a meeting for later. She'll probably be on shift right now.
Okay. Let's do that.
If you don't have something, you can't really get her while she's on shift.
And it could be nothing. That's
Yeah,
the reality. I saw something, but that doesn't, it's not proof.
you want to believe.
Yeah. So the other thing to do might be to perhaps get a hold of Tasha.
I believe we said this is Saturday.
This is Saturday.
You would guess that Tasha is either at home at the club house, which is like not exactly an official thing, but you know where it is. It's off campus.
Like clubhouse or just a place where kids hang out?
It's just like a place where her and some other people who are interested in either the occult or weird stuff or horror fiction and movies, that kind of stuff. It's a pretty loose
Okay.
group. She's the only one that really deals with you. So you know where that is, or she's out doing some investigation of her own. But she would probably have told you if she had something.
We should be in about sometime in the afternoon, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go through my bag and get my one granola bar and start eating that as I power walk back to my car. And I think now the goal might be, I guess, is the coffee shop still open or do you think that's closed by now?
I'd say it's getting pretty close to closing. You're probably not going to get there in time.
Then I will head back to my place to access my internet because I was thinking if they were still open, I'd just go by there and use theirs. But it'll be faster for me just to go back to my place and use my internet there. So once I get to my place, I want to send a IM to Tasha to let her know, hey, there's this thing I want you to investigate. And it's with the playground, kids getting hurt. You probably saw the news story. I just want you to pull out some feelers there and see what you can find.
All right, so you basically send her what you have and want her to look into the kids specifically, basically.
And then I want to call Detective Maria and ask her to set up a meeting, potentially for later today, if possible.
You get a hold of her. Based on the background noise of the phone, you guess she's at her desk right now, probably doing paperwork, which she complains about every time you meet. You're just going to try and set up a meeting. I don't think we need to do too much there. So I think, well, actually, you kind of don't have a lot here. I'll say make a charisma check for this.
Okay. It starts out with fair. Ooh, and I just added a -1 to that. So average.
So I think you're not going to get a hold of her tonight, but she'll make some time for you tomorrow night.
Okay. So then I just let her know, thank you for penciling me in.
I think she meets you at like a dive bar. It's her place of choice, which is the opposite of when you get to meet with most people. Most people come to a place you like, you have to come to a place she likes. That's the power differential here. You seem like the guy who does not like dive bars.
Okay. So with that, I want to check Victor Smith's website and see if anybody said anything about my post.
All right, make a luck roll.
So I got a -2 terrible, and my luck is fair.
So that's mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got just sort of a couple posts on there, but they're not really adding much. They're just sort of like restating the thing you said in different words. Like, wow, so you're saying this? It's like, yeah, that is what I'm saying.
If I go to, I search for the stories on his page that are the most talked about, what do I see there?
The biggest ones right now are the season one thing, that and the season two thing. Those are like his biggest ones. There are a smattering of other things that kind of interesting, but those are like the big things that have happened.
Are any of the other stories that are gaining some traction, are they newer than the first two stories, or are these potentially stuff that's older?
Some of his old stuff is still popular, but mostly it's his newer stuff, although a lot of his newer stuff tends to be a bit sketchier at this point. Your character wouldn't know, but that's because Victor Smith is actually trying to do real reporting now.
He's no longer making up facts.
But not everything he tracks down pans out. So
Right, right. Okay. So with that, I think I've reached out to the people that I want to reach out to. I guess there's nobody I could recruit to come with me right now to check out the.
abandoned high rise. So it's I don't know if you've ever seen a skyscraper where they've just abandoned building it partway through. But that's basically what this is. So it's about 3 floors of it, and then partway through the fourth.
I'm going to roll to see if my character decides to just check it out on his own. That's a -1 poor. So poor decision making is what that sounds like. So he's going to go ahead and drive over there. He wants to maybe not get close, but definitely he wants to look around.
Are you just driving past, or are you going to get out of the car?
Is there a parking structure adjacent to it where he could just park his car and watch it?
There's a parking lot. It's kind of not paved at this point because they never got that far, but that's what it was there for. There's some grass growing in the dirt. Yeah. So you can,
But not something like across the street?
not really. This part of town, most people are expecting to park on the sidewalk, right by the sidewalk. Some people park on the sidewalk.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that then. Just drive by it and maybe just hang out for my guy will make his own sandwich, pour a thing of homemade coffee in a mug, and get in his car and go.
I feel like Winston Davison has gotten scurvy at least once.
Probably. He's trying to be better about it.
All right, so you drive over. How much does Winston Davison care about specific timing? Like, how often does he look at the clock? Or is he like a my body knows what time it is kind of guy?
He knows that he is not a my body knows what time it is kind of guy. His mom gave him a mechanical watch in his 30s and all in the hopes of helping him keep time. Problem is that he never got it serviced, so it's a little bit off and in desperate need of getting lubed up.
Does it lock up sometimes?
It doesn't lock up. It's just no, it's just not accurate. The spring it in is fatigued. The oil that's in there is old school, like fat, and not like the modern stuff we use. He thinks it keeps time, but it really doesn't.
All right, you're sitting out there. I want you to make a perception check and a luck check. So tell me both of those together.
Added together or
Just each one after the other.
okay. So the first one was perception. My perception is great. Let's see what we get. Got a -1, so that puts my great to good. And my luck is at fair. And I rolled a +1 average, so it goes up to good.
So good and good. All right. So you're, watching this periodically, checking your watch because you know when you need to give up and go back. And it's about 6:50. You check your watch, take it by your sandwich. Then a few minutes go by. You check your watch again, and it's 7:10. And right beside your watch, you've got a little cut on top of your hand,
Well, shit.
as you didn't see anything.
Okay, repeat that one more time. So when I first saw my watch, it was what time, and then it jumped to
It was
7:10.
about 6:50, and then you're thinking that you've been checking around every 5 or so minutes.
So at least according to my watch, which we've already discussed, isn't the greatest at keeping time. I've lost around 20 minutes.
Or 15.
Okay. Ooh. And he looks around and nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. You don't see anything.
Is this wound, is it coagulating the way how it's supposed to?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty normal, like, I slipped with a utility knife and cut myself. It is a worse wound than the ones you've seen in the previous cases you've seen.
Worse than the barista guy.
Yeah, it's worse because they just kind of had like little scrapes. You have like a cut.
So I don't know if that means that I just doomed my character, but we've done something.
You've definitely done something, that's for sure. I assume your father forced you to keep a first aid kit in the car, and he definitely would have made
Yes.
you take a first aid class. You may not be up to date on it, but you know how to wrap a wound. Also, you do that, you're not taking any damage on this because it's still just a cut. It's not like a savage wound.
Does it feel like a paper cut? Like when it's so razor thin that it like hurts to move because it's
No, it's more like if you slipped with your knife while you were cutting food and you've got just like cut on your fingertip.
so it's layers deep.
Yeah, it is bleeding.
Okay. Bandage myself up and
Do you keep a camera with you? Would you have brought one?
let's roll because I think he would keep a camera on him, but he's not a photographer. He's not somebody that would do that on regular.
Let's go with reasoning to see if he thought about it.
Okay. So my reasoning is good. And I got a 0, so good.
Yeah. So I'll say you have. I think you've probably never moved to digital cameras. No, you use a laptop. So you probably do have a digital because you would want to be able to just plug it into your computer.
Right. He doesn't have an appreciation for the art, old school film photography. So
So it's probably a bad camera, but are you going to take a picture of your hand? Because then you can upload that to Victor Smith's site.
I can upload that to Victor Smith. I can show this to the detective. I can even corroborate with the barista guy, but at least now I can say like, "Oh, I just happened to be going by there too and look at what happened to me."
Through sheer happenstance and coincidence, I was around there.
Yeah, it just happened. Now I can add in the element of I felt like I lost time. And I can corroborate that with him, see if he has a digital watch on him or something.
All right. So you got that picture. You don't need a roll for it because we've already established it's a bad picture regardless. Anything else you want to take a picture of while you're here?
Well, like you said, looking around, nothing looked different, right?
Right.
Other than I got a cut on my hand. I don't think because he's not a photographer, I don't think he'd be into taking photos of things that isn't a part of what he's trying to prove. So no, he would just take the photo of the hand.
It's around the time where you were planning to go back. Are you going to go back or are you going to stick around and try and see if you can make it happen again?
He's already felt like he's gotten some form of proof, not necessarily that anybody else is going to care, but that it solidified it for him. Like he saw something weird in the sky attack a kid. He went to a place where he knew that the barista went to and got cut. And he also got cut. So this is just to him, this is like I found something real. This is not a pretend story. This isn't a research for a book. Now this is more like I'm doing what Victor Smith is doing. I'm finding out secrets.
So I take it with that, he's going to go home. He may be rethinking his battle plan now that he has real confirmation on this, but you head home.
First, I go to my laptop and send a photo to the detective and upload the photo to my thread, Victor Smith's website, and say,
Do you send it to Tasha?
yeah, I do. And I tell Tasha specifically that my wound seems to be worse than the barista's wound, which means that maybe there's a chance that the kid's wounds might be getting worse as well.
You do that, go to your whiteboard, you update your story threads.
Yes. So I look at the one I made for this and I put in underlined big bold letters real question mark, and then I put in this detail that I found out. Not only did I lose 20 minutes, somewhere around that much time, but I have a cut on my right hand. I assume it's my right because I would wear my watch on my right because I'm left-handed. And where it happened, I also put under am I infected now question mark. Is something going to spring out of my chest now question mark. Am I compromised question mark.
I really hope someone like walks in and like just looks at that. All right. So Winston Davison finishes up with all that, heads to bed. What does Winston Davison's bedroom look like? And yes, this is plot relevant now.
Okay, his bedroom, let me think on this because this is kind of important. As you just said, plot relevant. He has a queen size bed that is clearly only really meant for one person to sleep in. He doesn't have it set up for potential visitors. He keeps it really simple. He normally doesn't sleep with a blanket. He just uses the sheets. On his walls, he has a couple frames of some of the books he's written, like the cover art, because he just likes to be inspired by his own stuff. But he also has books from other great sci-fi and fantasy novels. Like he has a couple photos of the different Lord of the Rings books. He has some Dune signed cover art.
He seems like the type to have like Asimov up there.
So he's got this kind of memorabilia on his wall, along with some of his own personal stuff. And on his dresser, he has a family photo of him, his dad, and his mother when he was like a teenager. And if you look through his dresser, everything is meticulous. He has a drawer just for the socks, and they're folded in a very specific way. And then another drawer for the underwear, folded in a very specific way. Everything's in a certain pattern that is clearly reproduced multiple times, exactly the same way. He doesn't care. It has to be that way. And he has a nightstand with a light, and he has a book on there. It's not his book. He likes to read other authors' stuff as well. I don't know which book to say that is, so maybe we will discuss that in a future date once I've decided.
Does he have a mirror in here, or does he reserve that for the bathroom? Does he do all his grooming in the bathroom and none of it in the bedroom?
He would keep the mirror in the bathroom. I think the most you would be able to get reflection wise inside the bedroom would be all the frame stuff he has.
All that's framed in glass.
Yeah, so that would be the closest thing to reflection you can get.
And are there any windows in this room?
Yes, there's at least, let's say that his bedroom is towards the back of his house. So there's at least one window facing the back, and that'd be it.
Does that catch sunrise or sunset, or is it?
I think that the people that built these houses didn't want the bedrooms, the master bedrooms, to be hit by sunrise, but sunset sounds good, so that would mean that his bedroom faces the west.
Hey, you could have told me it was the east. I'm not going to remember. All right, so the sun's setting, lights are going out. Is he the sort of person who lays out his clothes for the next day?
He normally sets out everything he's going to wear on Sundays. So that's the thing he does on Sundays at the end of the day. He gets everything ready for the next following week.
So your outfit for tomorrow is already laid out.
Correct.
And then the next day you'll go out and lay out another week's worth.
Correct.
Assuming something doesn't go horribly wrong tomorrow.
Yeah, like I turn into a zombie or something because of this cut.
And that's just on his dresser.
That would make sense. He would have 2 drawers dedicated to having each day planned out. So this is the last set of clothes in those drawers.
All right. And last detail before we end it. What kind of sleeper is he? Does he sleep on his back, on his chest, on his side?
He sleeps on his chest most of the time, but he will sleep on his sides. He normally avoids sleeping on his back.
All right. So which one is it tonight?
His chest.
Okay. Face down. And that is where we will end it.
I don't like the way how you said that.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the 3rd episode of Season 4 of the Die Again podcast. We got to meet Winston Davison's father. His father gave him the best advice he could, but it was ignored. Winston is now also cut by the mysterious force that he's been looking into. Let's hope he can figure out more information by the next episode. We at the Die Again podcast love hearing your thoughts, so drop your comments wherever you're tuning in from. Also, don't forget to follow us on X, Threads, and Blue Skies. Just search for Die Again podcast, all one word. See ya!